Continuing from last chapter, Lin Dong finds the life and death reincarnation pill, but it attracts more powerful contenders to the battle. Lin Dong's figure shot forward under the gaze of the crowd, his hand reaching out for the life and death reincarnation pill. The previous clash between him and Tian Zhen had left the onlookers stunned, and no one dared to step in and stop him. Instead, all eyes instinctively turned toward Tian Zhen. At this moment, the smile on Tian Zhen's face had vanished, replaced by a fierce red glow in his eyes. His expression twisted into something terrifying, a clear reflection of the fury boiling inside him. A tough opponent? You ignorant fool, you overestimate yourself? His voice was chilling, seething with barely contained rage. As soon as the words left his mouth, everyone in the pill chamber felt their hearts skip a beat. It seemed that Tian Zhen was on the verge of going berserk. You think just because Liu Bai respects you, you're someone important? Today, I'll see how tough this iron wall of yours really is. Boom. Tian Zhen's voice echoed through the chamber as his body shot forward, his primordial energy swirling violently around him. The pressure was so intense that it made the surrounding onlookers feel suffocated. Boom. Tian Zhen hovered in midair, throwing a fierce punch. A brutal gust of wind, infused with deadly killing intent, shot toward Lin Dong, who was reaching for the life and death reincarnation pill. Sensing the attack from behind, Lin Dong's eyes grew cold. Just as he was about to turn and counter, a large figure appeared behind him. It was Little Yin. Big brother, focus on the life and death reincarnation pill. Leave this guy to me. Little Yan's black iron staff shimmered with sharp, glinting scales, and with a powerful swing, he met Tian Zhen's incoming attack head-on. Boom. A dull sound reverberated through the chamber as the force of the clash sent shockwaves rippling outward. A surge of black energy erupted from Little Yin, neutralizing the impact. Lin Dong hesitated for a moment, but then nodded in acknowledgement. Though Little Yin was only at the first Nirvana stage, his true form as part of the celestial demon tiger clan endowed him with extraordinary physical strength, far surpassing Lin Dong's in some ways. Coupled with his own battle techniques, even someone like Tian Zhen would find it difficult to easily overpower him. You insolent fool! How dare you challenge me? Tian Zhen barked out a laugh, filled with contempt. He had heard of Lin Dong's reputation and wasn't entirely surprised that the young man could fend off his earlier attack. But for Little Yin, who was merely a subordinate, to dare stand against him? That was a different matter altogether. Little Yin remained expressionless, his eyes fixed on Tian Zhen. Dark energy flickered across his body, and a low growl, like a tiger's roar, resonated from his shifting muscles. The onlookers were momentarily stunned. While Lin Dong's reputation was known, they had no idea who this towering figure behind him was. Judging by his power, Little Yin was also only at the first Nirvana stage. Could he really be as formidable as Lin Dong? Get out of my way. Tian Zhen's once refined demeanor had vanished, replaced by a ferocious, savage expression that sent chills down the spines of all who saw him. Normally, such an intimidating aura would crush an opponent's spirit, but Tian Zhen was now facing a being whose heart was even more savage than his own. Boom. As Tian Zhen charged forward with a twisted expression, Little Yin didn't back down. Black energy surged around him, enveloping his iron staff. With all his strength, he swung the staff directly at Tian Zhen. As a demon beast, Little Yin naturally had an overwhelming advantage in raw power. The sharp whistling sound of the staff tearing through the air was so intense that even Tian Zhen's eyes narrowed slightly. He gathered his primordial energy in an instant, and a radiant golden light burst from his body, forming a solid golden body shield around him. Clang! The iron staff smashed against the golden shield, producing a sharp, metallic sound. The shield rippled from the impact, but it didn't shatter. Impressive strength, but it's not enough to break my golden body shield. Golden light surged, and within it, a cruel smile flashed across Tian Zhen's face. His fist pierced through the protective barrier, with primordial energy gathering into the shape of a wolf's head on his fist. The energy surged forward, aiming directly at Little Yan's chest. Tiger demon armor. In an instant, black energy surged across Little Yan's body, forming into a black, tiger-striped armor. The dark sheen of the armor gave it an incredibly sturdy appearance. Bang! Tian Zhen's fist slammed heavily into the tiger demon armor, and a faint tiger's roar seemed to echo from the impact. A mysterious power rippled from the armor, absorbing the force of Tian Zhen's attack and neutralizing it. Boom! 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 Little Yin, having blocked Tian Zhen's powerful punch with his body, felt a savage gleam flash in his eyes. His iron staff spun rapidly, transforming into countless shadowy strikes that enveloped Tian Zhen from all directions. Seeing Little Yan's fierce onslaught, Tian Zhen's face twisted in fury. His primordial energy condensed into the shape of wolves, which howled as they clashed violently with the staff shadows. Boom! Boom! The onlookers inside the pill chamber watched the intense battle in midair with wide-eyed shock. None of them had expected that the giant figure, who had always been standing quietly behind Lin Dong like a bodyguard, possessed such terrifying strength. As the fierce battle between Little Yin and Tian Zhen raged on, Lin Dong's hand had already reached within half a foot of the life and death reincarnation pill. However, his hand wasn't withering like before, thanks to the purple-black energy that now encased it. Despite this protection, Lin Dong could only move his hand forward at an excruciatingly slow pace, inching toward the pill. Lin Dong had no choice but to focus entirely on retrieving the pill. As for Tian Zhen, he left him to Little Yin. Clang! Clang! The rapid swings of Little Yan's iron staff collided again and again with Tian Zhen's golden body shield, producing a sharp, metallic sound. Despite the ferocity of their attacks, neither had managed to inflict any significant damage on the other, thanks to their respective protective techniques. However, this stalemate was clearly unsatisfying to both of them. For Tian Zhen, one of the four tyrants of the Northwest, it was humiliating enough that Lin Dong had successfully withstood his attack. Now, with Little Yin holding his own, Tian Zhen's frustration had reached its peak. If word of this spread, it would damage his fearsome reputation. What he sought was not a mere stalemate. He wanted a decisive victory. Similarly, this desire to win burned within Little Yin, who, with his celestial demon tiger bloodline, possessed an unmatched fighting spirit. Bang! Suddenly, Little Yin threw his iron staff aside. A deep, thunderous roar erupted from his throat, reverberating through the chamber with an almost primal power. Black energy surged from his body, and in the next instant, it began to take the shape of a massive black tiger behind him. Celestial demon transformation, tiger howl transformation. Little Yin stepped forward with a powerful stride, his hands forming into claws. His movements blurred as he rapidly performed an intricate series of hand seals, and then, with both hands clasped together, he unleashed the full might of his attack, like an enraged tiger roaring at the heavens. Roar! The black tiger behind him let out a fearsome roar before merging into Little Yan's clawed hands. A terrifying wave of energy coalesced, forming a massive, ferocious black tiger that howled as it shot toward Tian Zhen. Bang! Bang! The air exploded as the black tiger tore through it with immense speed. In the blink of an eye, it closed the distance, and under the shocked gaze of the onlookers, it slammed into Tian Zhen's seemingly indestructible golden body shield. The violent energy waves swept through the chamber, and a faint crack echoed in Tian Zhen's suddenly contracted pupils. Crack! Crack! In an instant, cracks spread rapidly across Tian Zhen's once impenetrable golden body shield. Under the stunned gazes of the onlookers, the shield shattered with a loud explosion. At the same time, Lin Dong's hand pierced through the ring of life and death, and he firmly grasped the black and white pill, the life and death reincarnation pill, in his hand. The chaotic storm of energy in the chamber expanded outward like a hurricane, causing fissures to spread across the floor. The onlookers were forced to retreat rapidly. As they moved back, their eyes were glued to the center of the battle, where two figures clashed. In the midst of the storm, a dark figure was sent flying backward. The figure's feet skidded across the ground, struggling to regain balance. Swoosh! Everyone's eyes immediately turned toward the figure that had been thrown back. Gasps filled the chamber as they realized the person was Tian Zhen. Tian Zhen's golden body shield had been shattered. The crowd stared at Tian Zhen in shock. His once formidable shield was broken, and even his clothes were torn in places, giving him a somewhat disheveled appearance, so unlike the dominant figure he had been moments ago. While the crowd remained in shock, a large, imposing figure emerged from the dust. Little Yin stepped forward with a heavy, mountain-like gait. His body was enveloped in swirling black energy, and the sound of tiger roars echoed faintly from within him. His iron staff crackled with flickering black light, which seemed to manifest as a faint image of a black tiger coiled around it, exuding a fierce and deadly aura. Little Yan's eyes blazed with fury as they locked onto Tian Zhen, whose face had turned a livid shade of green. Little Yan's blood boiled with excitement, and his burning battle intent was enough to make anyone's heart race. "Let's go again." With a swipe of his iron staff, which tore through the air with an intimidating whistle, Little Yin pointed it directly at Tian Zhen. His deep voice carried an unmistakable eagerness for battle. "You're courting death." Tian Zhen laughed in anger at Little Yan's boldness, but the disdain in his eyes had vanished, replaced by a serious expression. After their earlier exchange, Tian Zhen now understood that Little Yin was no less dangerous than Lin Dong. These two, what on earth are they? They're only at the first nirvana stage, yet their combat power is terrifying. Tian Zhen gritted his teeth, feeling a surge of disbelief. Though he hadn't used his full strength earlier, he could tell that Little Yin still had tricks up his sleeve, and the sheer physical power and resilience of his opponent were enough to give even someone like Tian Zhen pause. Tap. Just as Tian Zhen was grappling with the shock of Little Yan's unexpected strength, the sound of footsteps echoed behind him. He turned, and his eyes narrowed as he saw Lin Dong approaching with a calm smile on his face. Tian Zhen's gaze quickly shifted toward the stone pillar, and his pupils constricted in disbelief. The life and death reincarnation pill had disappeared. How is that possible? The green-robed man and his companions were equally stunned. They had personally experienced the strange energy surrounding the pill, an energy even a second nirvana stage expert like them couldn't withstand. How had Lin Dong managed to claim the pill? You actually broke through the ring of life and death? Tian Zhen's voice quivered with shock, for he too knew of the ring of life and death's formidable defense. "Just lucky, I guess," Lin Dong replied with a casual smile, though the nonchalance in his voice only fueled Tian Zhen's rage. "Big brother, did you succeed?" Little Yan's ferocious expression softened slightly as he asked excitedly, his eyes bright with anticipation. "Yes," Lin Dong nodded, giving Little Yan a curious look. He had originally thought it would be a feat if Little Yin could merely hold off Tian Zhen. However, Little Yin had not only accomplished that, but had even shattered Tian Zhen's golden body shield. It seemed Lin Dong had underestimated Little Yan's true combat capabilities. Upon hearing that Lin Dong had obtained the life and death reincarnation pill, the surrounding crowd couldn't help but display complex expressions. Some were clearly tempted, but most harbored caution. Though Lin Dong and his companion were outnumbered, neither of them was an ordinary figure. Each of them alone was capable of standing toe-to-toe with a powerhouse like Tian Zhen. If they teamed up, even someone as strong as Tian Zhen would have to retreat. At this moment, Tian Zhen's face alternated between green and white, clearly filled with fury. With his reputation in the northwestern region, he rarely found himself on the losing end. Yet this time, he had unmistakably suffered a humiliating defeat at the hands of Lin Dong. If you think taking the life and death reincarnation pill is going to be that easy, you're gravely mistaken. Tian Zhen's voice dripped with malice as his anger finally overflowed. "Well then, why don't my brother and I experience the might of the fierce wolf for ourselves?" Lin Dong smiled faintly as he spoke. "You." Tian Zhen froze, his face turning an ugly shade of purple. He feared neither Lin Dong nor Little Yin individually, but if they joined forces, even he wasn't confident of victory. He had hoped to provoke Lin Dong into a one-on-one fight, but Lin Dong's words made it clear he had no intention of playing by those rules. If it came to blows, Lin Dong would never agree to a solo battle. Standing behind Lin Dong, Little Yin gripped his iron staff, towering over Tian Zhen with a gaze full of menace. His imposing physique alone was enough to intimidate. Under Lin Dong's calm, half-smiling expression and Little Yan's eager fighting spirit, Tian Zhen's rationality finally overcame his anger. His face darkened as he spun on his heel. Lin Dong, don't get too cocky. This isn't over. With those ominous words, Tian Zhen unwillingly turned and left, his figure flashing several times before disappearing from the alchemy arena. The crowd watched Tian Zhen's retreat, and a hush fell over them. Many couldn't help but glance at Lin Dong and Little Yin with a mix of awe and fear. None of them had expected that even someone of Tian Zhen's stature would come up empty-handed against a young man from a lesser dynasty. This guy is no pushover. No wonder his fame has risen so quickly. Lin Dong ignored the various gazes around him and instead turned his attention to the green-robed men in the distance. The moment they met his gaze, they trembled and hurriedly turned to flee, clearly terrified that Lin Dong would seek revenge. After witnessing Lin Dong and Little Yan's earlier display of power, any arrogance they had at the beginning was long gone. Let's go. Lin Dong glanced at the fleeing green-robed men, but made no move to pursue them. Instead, he casually waved to Little Yin. With the life and death reincarnation pill in hand, the problem with Lord Mink was all but solved. Now, the next major event would be the legacy of the 4 grand profound sects. If he could claim one of those inheritances, this journey to the ancient secret repository would be a great success. With that, Lin Dong didn't delay any longer. He strode toward the exit of the alchemy chamber. Wherever he passed, the crowd parted for him, not a single person daring to block his way. Under countless complex gazes, Lin Dong and Little Yin left the scene, appearing utterly carefree. This caused some onlookers to sigh, realizing that after this journey to the ancient secret repository, the 4 dominant forces of the Northwest might soon include 2 new names. Outside the alchemy chamber, the alchemy arena had already drawn a large crowd. The once closed alchemy chambers had been opened, and the nirvana pills within had been snatched clean. What was once a tranquil arena now resembled a village ransacked by bandits. Utter chaos. Looking at the greedy figures scattered across the alchemy arena, Lin Dong and Little Yin were speechless. It seemed pointless to try gathering any more nirvana pills at this point, so without further delay, they decided to leave, swiftly heading toward the island's deepest area. Little Mink, we've secured the life and death reincarnation pill. When do you plan to use it? Lin Dong asked in his mind as they soared through the air. We'll deal with it after everything here is over. Restoring my physical body won't be a simple task, Little Mink's voice quickly responded. Lin Dong could sense the barely concealed excitement and eagerness in its tone. All right. Lin Dong smiled and nodded, finally feeling a weight lift from his heart. At last, Little Mink's problem was resolved. Lin Dong. Lin Dong was slightly taken aback. Thank you. Little Mink's voice was soft but unusually sincere, without its typical teasing, containing an earnestness Lin Dong had rarely heard. Don't be so formal. It feels strange. Aren't you supposed to be some kind of super expert? I'm just making an investment, Lin Dong laughed, shaking his head. Haha, don't worry. Once Lord Mink recovers his strength, no one will dare bully you. Little Mink laughed heartily. Lin Dong chuckled, his gaze shifting toward the depths of the island. There, he sensed a peculiar ripple of energy. That must be where the ruins of the 4 grand profound sects lay. I'm really looking forward to this. Lin Dong murmured, anticipation welling up within him. As the rulers of the Tiangang Alliance, just how powerful could the inheritance of the 4 grand profound sects be? Just as that thought crossed his mind, Lin Dong's expression suddenly stiffened. His sharp gaze locked onto a figure standing atop a towering ancient tree ahead. That handsome face and cold, sinister eyes. It was someone all too familiar. Lin Langtian. As he gazed at that face, Lin Dong's lips slowly curled into a cold smile. So, they met again. Lin Dong's forward momentum gradually slowed until he landed atop a massive tree, his eyes fixed on that unmistakable figure in the distance. Both came from the same dynasty, the same clan, and shared the same surname. They were both gifted, yet their relationship had long been one of bitter enmity. That enmity had likely been forged the day Lin Langtian grievously injured Lin Dong's father. Since then, after a series of events, the animosity between them had become irreconcilable. Lin Dong was well aware that Lin Langtian would become one of his most dangerous enemies. There was no doubt in his mind that Lin Langtian's hatred toward him would never wane. Should he find any opportunity to strike, Lin Dong knew Lin Langtian wouldn't hesitate for a second. But Lin Dong was no different. If given the chance, he wouldn't show mercy either. In some ways, their personalities were quite similar. Under the vast blue sky and drifting white clouds, the two figures stood atop towering trees, staring at each other from afar. Their gazes, filled with icy hostility, seemed to freeze the very air between them. Standing behind Lin Dong, Little Yin slowly ran his large hand over the cold iron staff in his grip. His body leaned slightly forward, a menacing aura flickering in his eyes. Having followed Lin Dong for years, Little Yin was fully aware of the deep-seated grudge between Lin Dong and Lin Langtian. He knew the threat Lin Langtian posed to Lin Dong. Such a threat could not be allowed to remain. Lin Dong, we meet again. The wind stirred, and a chilling smile spread across Lin Langtian's handsome face as he spoke slowly. You've been hiding for so long, and now you're finally willing to show yourself? Lin Dong chuckled lightly. You know me, Lin Dong. I wouldn't appear unless I was sure of myself. Now that I'm here, perhaps it's you who should be worried. Lin Langtian smiled, exuding the same confidence and arrogance he had the first time Lin Dong saw him. It seemed that during his disappearance, Lin Langtian had his own share of fortuitous encounters. I won't give you a second chance to escape, Lin Dong said calmly, his eyes half-lidded. The mistakes of the past won't happen again. I, Lin Langtian, will still be the unprecedented figure of the Lin clan. Once I deal with you, I'll join a super sect. With just a single word from me, your beloved Yen City Lin clan will be utterly destroyed. Lin Langtian sneered menacingly. You won't have that chance. Lin Dong stretched lazily and said, Enough talk. I'm curious to see how much progress you've made after disappearing for so long. I feel the same way. The coldness on Lin Langtian's face deepened. With a sudden step forward, a surge of primordial energy erupted from his body like a tidal wave, revealing that he had already reached the first Nirvana stage. I know you defeated Shirkuan from the demonic rock dynasty, but just recently, I also seriously injured a second Nirvana stage expert. Brilliant golden light suddenly burst forth from Lin Langtian's body. His figure blurred as he threw a punch, the force of which shattered the air and enveloped Lin Dong in a whirlwind of razor-sharp energy. Lin Dong extended his hand, releasing a vast amount of spiritual energy that formed into a massive hand of energy. With a single palm, he dispelled the fierce winds surrounding him. This level of power is still far from enough. Lin Langtian wasn't surprised that his attack was blocked. He had heard the rumors about Lin Dong during his absence and knew that Lin Dong had grown significantly stronger. Without special means, it would be difficult to subdue him. Then let me show you the true power of martial arts. A cold smile appeared on Lin Langtian's face as his eyes sharpened. Suddenly, a tremendous amount of primordial energy surged from his body, causing the surrounding energy in the heavens and earth to roil. Hidden within his primordial energy was an unusual, mysterious force. Spirit martial art? Lin Dong raised his head and noticed the darkening sky. His eyes flashed with surprise. He hadn't expected Lin Langtian to have such an encounter. Lin Dong, only I, Lin Langtian, am destined to be the favored one by the heavens. My fortune is something you can never compare to. Lin Langtian stood in midair, the sky behind him dimming as a massive phantom figure began to take shape. The phantom figure stood with its feet planted firmly on the ground, exuding a special ripple of power, resembling a mighty martial sect warrior capable of shaking the heavens and earth. Heaven-turning art of the martial sect. A deep shout burst from Lin Langtian's mouth as the colossal phantom behind him stretched out its giant arms, piercing through the sky. In an instant, the energy in the heavens and earth exploded. Die! Under the pressure of the phantom's enormous arms, the vast sky seemed to shrink, eventually collapsing into a flexible light screen. A terrifying ripple of power spread out in all directions. The phantom gripped the light screen and then smashed it forward with a force that shattered the air, unleashing a devastating punch toward Lin Dong. Boom! The forest below was instantly reduced to dust under the pressure, and even the earth itself cracked and split open. Because the ruins of the four grand profound sects had appeared, many people were already heading toward this area. The massive disturbance here immediately drew countless eyes. Is that a spirit martial art? Who is that person? The one he's attacking seems to be Lin Dong. That guy always stirs up trouble, no matter where he goes. Upon seeing the massive phantom behind Lin Langtian, shocked voices erupted from the crowd. Although Lin Langtian's recent disappearance had made him unfamiliar to many, Lin Dong, with his rapidly rising reputation in the northwestern region, was someone most people recognized. This aura, it seems to be Earth Martial Sect's martial art. Lin Dong gazed at the enormous phantom behind Lin Langtian, his expression turning serious. It seemed Lin Langtian had managed to inherit the legacy of the Earth Martial Sect, the leader of the 5 guardian sects. Exhale. Lin Dong let out a deep breath, not daring to be careless. Spirit martial arts were incredibly powerful, even for him, and he needed to exercise caution. Boom, boom, boom. A torrent of primordial energy erupted from Lin Dong's body at that very moment, forming 5 massive beams of energy that quickly coalesced into 5 ancient, colossal fingers. Great Wilderness Celestial Prison Finger, Fuse. With a single motion of his hand, the 5 ancient fingers swiftly merged, shattering the void. In the darkness, a vague shadow, as if standing above heaven and earth, appeared once more. That Lin Dong also has a spirit martial art. As the shadow emerged from the void, the experts observing the battle were shocked, their faces filled with astonishment. Great Wilderness Celestial Prison Hand. With a roar, surging energy poured out of Lin Dong's body, and he thrust his hand forward. At the same time, the shadow in the void stretched out its hand as well, and this time, the phantom hand seemed a little more solid. Crack! The phantom hand reached out, causing a tear in space. The ancient hand formed by the fusion of the Great Wilderness Celestial Prison Fingers pierced through the void, speeding toward the giant shadow behind Lin Langtian like a bolt of lightning. Swoosh! Both attacks moved faster than lightning. Even Lin Dong and Lin Langtian could only see brief flashes of light. In the next instant, the 2 devastating martial arts clashed like meteors. Boom! At the moment of impact, the heavens and earth seemed to tremble. A terrifying energy storm erupted, enveloping the mountain below, which immediately crumbled as massive boulders fell. Roar! A low growl escaped from Lin Langtian's mouth as his face flushed red. His primordial energy surged madly, and even the giant shadow behind him let out a fierce, domineering roar. As the martial spirit behind Lin Langtian roared, Lin Dong felt immense pressure. He took a deep breath, his eyes growing cold, and clenched his fist tightly. Break! A voice echoed across the heavens, but it wasn't Lin Dong's. It came from the phantom in the void, the martial spirit of the Great Wilderness Celestial Prison Hand. Boom! That voice, ethereal and ancient, carried a terrifying pressure. Even the giant shadow behind Lin Langtian trembled before gradually fading and then disappearing completely under Lin Langtian's astonished gaze. His martial spirit had been shattered by Lin Dong's martial spirit. Spirit martial arts were divided into 3 grades: high, middle, and low. The most direct indicator of a martial art's strength was the power of its martial spirit. In essence, the stronger the creator of the martial art, the more powerful its martial spirit. Of course, there could be exceptions, as a single expert might create several spirit martial arts of varying strength, depending on how much life force or energy they infused into each technique. Clearly, the Great Wilderness Celestial Prison Finger that Lin Dong had inherited was not something the Great Wilderness Emperor had casually created. The Great Wilderness Emperor was far more powerful than the sect leader of the Earth Martial Sect, whose martial spirit Lin Langtian had summoned. Otherwise, in this clash of martial spirits, Lin Dong wouldn't have had the upper hand. Boom! The violent energy storm raged across the sky. The countless onlookers could only gaze in shock at the collapse of the enormous shadow behind Lin Langtian. This battle between spirit martial arts was not something one could witness casually. The martial spirit Lin Langtian summoned must be that of the Earth martial sect's leader, known as the Martial Sect Master, whose power was said to shake the heavens and earth. Yet even such a martial spirit couldn't withstand Lin Dong's attack. Lin Dong's spirit martial art must be extraordinary. I wonder who could have created such a powerful technique? Whispers of astonishment echoed through the sky as the spectators tried to process the shocking display they had just witnessed. He actually shattered my martial spirit. In the midst of all the astonished gazes, a dark expression flashed across Lin Langtian's face. He was well aware of the great wilderness celestial prison finger that Lin Dong had used. Back when they both obtained martial arts from the creation martial tablet, he had never imagined that Lin Dong's technique was merely the beginning of something far more powerful. With Lin Dong's growing strength and deeper familiarity with this martial art, the power of the great wilderness celestial prison finger was now being fully unleashed. This kid, something about him is different. I can sense a dangerous fluctuation coming from his body. As Lin Langtian wore a dark expression, a raspy voice suddenly echoed in his mind. Oh! Lin Langtian's eyes narrowed slightly. He trusted this essence spirit residing within him implicitly. Much of his current success was due to this entity, and he was well aware of its strength. For Lin Dong to make even it feel a sense of danger was quite unexpected. Is it because of the demon spirit inside him? Lin Langtian asked. I can no longer detect any trace of that demon spirit's energy. Its current state is unknown, but even with the Earth martial sect's inheritance, it will be very difficult for you to kill Lin Dong, the essence spirit mused. Upon hearing this, Lin Langtian clenched his fists tightly, his eyes flashing with resentment. He had thought that, after half a year of intense training and fortuitous encounters, he would be among the strongest in the northwestern region and that defeating Lin Dong would be a simple task. Yet, to his shock, Lin Dong's progress had kept pace with his own. Forget about him for now. The most important thing is obtaining the inheritance of the 4 grand profound sects. Though the Earth martial sect is said to be the strongest of the 5 guardian sects, it still pales in comparison to the 4 grand profound sects. If you can secure one of their inheritances, you'll easily surpass Lin Dong. At that point, he'll have no chance of standing against you, the essence spirit advised. Lin Langtian furrowed his brow, his gaze cold as he stared at Lin Dong standing tall in the distance. After a moment of hesitation, he bit his lip in frustration and withdrew. There was no point in continuing the fight now. Securing the inheritance was the priority. Once he had it, the gap between them would inevitably widen. No matter how strong Lin Dong's spirit martial art was, he would no longer be a match. So, you're planning to retreat for now? Lin Dong's eyes narrowed slightly as he watched Lin Langtian pull back. The swirling energy around him gradually subsided as he understood that Lin Langtian was heading for the 4 grand profound sect's ruins, the same destination he had in mind. I told you, I won't give you another chance to escape, Lin Dong murmured to himself, determination flashing in his eyes. He had made up his mind to end Lin Langtian once and for all during this journey to the ancient secret repository. This threat had lingered for too long, and he couldn't allow Lin Langtian to grow any stronger. However, before he could eliminate this problem, he needed to claim the inheritance of the 4 grand profound sects. Lin Dong knew how critical this was. If Lin Langtian, having already acquired the Earth martial sect's inheritance, were to gain yet another, he would likely surpass Lin Dong completely. Given Lin Langtian's ruthless nature, Lin Dong was certain he would not show mercy. Let's go, little yin. Lin Dong waved his hand, not paying attention to the astonished stares from the surrounding experts. In a swift motion, his figure shot toward the core of the ancient secret repository, where spatial distortions hinted at something extraordinary. Swoosh, swoosh. As Lin Dong and little Yin moved, the other watching experts finally reacted. Eyes blazing with greed and anticipation, they leaped into action, chasing after the same destination. The sky was soon filled with the sharp sounds of bodies slicing through the air. Everyone knew that after overcoming numerous obstacles, They were now close to the core of the ancient secret repository, a place filled with treasures that could alter the course of their lives in the ancient battleground. The space deep within the ancient secret repository was far more stable than in other areas. The spatial cracks that riddled the outside world were absent here, and the air carried a distinct ancient aura. This place, sealed for countless years, had finally been disturbed once more. Lin Dong and little Yin flew across the sky, scanning the surroundings. They could see many figures heading in the same direction. The aura radiating from these people was powerful. None of them had reached this point through luck alone. That's space ahead. As Lin Dong maintained his rapid flight, his gaze suddenly locked onto an area in the distance. The space there was heavily distorted, and from it emanated an extremely violent spatial fluctuation. In that distorted space, a vast, ancient plaza seemed to be concealed, emanating a grand and majestic aura. Even from a distance, separated by the twisted space, Lin Dong and the others could feel its overwhelming presence, leaving them awestruck. This place, is it the ruins of the four grand profound sects? Lin Dong gazed at the ancient plaza, hidden within the distorted space. His eyes burned with excitement. Finally, they had arrived. As they drew closer, Lin Dong noticed several figures floating around the distorted space, some of whom were familiar faces. To the north stood Lu Bai and his group. Lu Bai had clearly spotted Lin Dong and little Yin as well, a faint but meaningful smile forming on his face. It seemed he had heard of the many feats Lin Dong had accomplished along the way. Not far from Lu Bai, there were three figures. One of them Lin Dong had encountered earlier. It was none other than Tian Zhen, who had fought him over the life and death reincarnation pill. To Tian Zhen's left stood a burly man who rivaled little Yin in size. This man carried a massive black axe on his back, radiating a wild and fierce aura that drew many wary glances. To Tian Zhen's right was a slender man in beast robes. His appearance was ordinary, but the occasional gleam of cold ruthlessness in his eyes suggested he was far from harmless. The aura he emitted was no weaker than that of Tian Zhen or the axe-wielding man. So, these are the other two rulers of the northwestern region? Lin Dong's gaze swept over the two. It was clear that such imposing figures could only be the other two regional overlords, known to rival Lu Bai and Tian Zhen. There was no one else they could be. As Lin Dong glanced at the trio, they also cast their eyes toward him. Tian Zhen's gaze was venomous, while the other two looked at Lin Dong with some wariness. However, there was no arrogance or contempt. After all, anyone who could make Tian Zhen suffer a defeat was not to be underestimated, even in their eyes. Beyond them, Lin Dong's gaze fell on Lin Langtian, who had only recently crossed paths with him. Lin Langtian shot him a cold glance, smirked, and then looked away with a sneer. It seems you've got quite a few enemies. As Lin Langtian smirked at Lin Dong, a voice suddenly came from beside him. Lin Dong raised an eyebrow and turned to see Yin Xin, dressed in a black robe, the same figure he had encountered when first entering the ancient secret repository. You defeated Shikuan, so I assume you now possess his ancient key, correct? Yin Xin's pale face peered out from beneath his black robe as he glanced at Lin Dong. Lin Dong narrowed his eyes slightly, remaining non-committal. He was no longer the same as when he first entered the ancient secret repository. Back then, he might have been cautious around Yin Xin, but now, if it came to a fight, Lin Dong wasn't afraid. So now you possess two ancient keys. Haha, interesting. You'll likely run into quite a bit of trouble soon. Let's see if you have what it takes to handle it. Yin Xin chuckled softly, speaking cryptically before leaping away, leaving Lin Dong deep in thought. Ancient keys, and the four grand profound sects. Lin Dong muttered to himself, furrowing his brow. He was beginning to piece things together, realizing that the ancient keys held greater significance than he initially thought.